Well, the monkey box of big media has depicted Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's recent refusal to pay her dues to the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, DCCCCCC. In typical terms, it's about the personalities and the schism in their lovely party. But is this just a flash in the pan, ego-driven personality battle of political celebrities, or is there actually a bigger picture, a long-standing lesson in hypocrisy and the aggressive presumptuousness of collectivism that is inside this story? Well, as we go to search for real news, you can be the judge. Hi folks, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV, and you might have seen the story. The magnificent AOC recently took time away from being amazed by how vegetables work.
Gardening, food that comes out of dirt, like it's magic.
And a little bit surprised and put off by how garbage disposals work.
I am told this is a garbage disposal. I've never seen a garbage disposal. I never had one in any place I've ever lived. It is terrifying. I don't know what to use it for or what its purpose is.
To say she won't pay her dues to the DCCC, a wonderful group of Democrat politicians who voluntarily join as a way to share the wealth and get more Democrats elected and then forcibly share other people's wealth. That's just awesome. Anyway, says Marissa Schultz of Fox News, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has already topped the fundraising charts in her short time in Congress, but the liberal darling won't donate a cent of her millions to Democrats' House campaign organization, a position that has rankled some of her colleagues, Fox News has learned. So the move could be seen as some media outlets, such as the Floridian Press and even National Review, have depicted it within that superficial horse race mode as a schism between AOC's purportedly more progressive wing of the Democrat Party and that so-called mainstream wing of the Democrat Party, represented by the moderate voice, wink wink, of Nancy Pelosi, which of course is a false dichotomy. What AOC's decision actually does is teach us an eternal lesson in hypocrisy and the what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine mentality that she and so many other collectivists actually exhibit. It's about the historical and philosophical roots of collectivism itself. The first lesson being that AOC is enthusiastic about forcing other people to pay what she tells them is their so-called fair share of taxes, backed, of course, by government threats of audits, fines, arrests, and imprisonment. But she's completely comfy not paying her dues for an organization she voluntarily joined. It's a point lost on the surface reporters, but not lost on Fox's Schultz, nor on one unnamed Democrat. Another Democrat was less diplomatic. Quote, "Deadbeat Cortez should pay her bills," complained the Democratic source. "She's always whining about people paying their fair share, and here she is leaving her friends with the bill." Schultz also spelled out AOC's financial arrears. Their gripe is that Ocasio-Cortez hasn't given any money to the DCCC, the party arm with the sole job of electing Democrats to the House. Records obtained by Fox News show the New York Democrat has failed to pay any of her $250,000 in dues to the DCCC. All this while AOC's PR team pulled in more than $2 million in the fourth quarter of 2019. But that's actually not the point. And to focus on how much money she's got really actually lends a little bit of credibility to a specious argument of the tax the rich mentality. We don't want to get into that. The point is that AOC voluntarily joined the DCCC while Americans can't be said to have given any form of consent to any U.S. government policy simply because they were born here and they haven't fled to another authoritarian regime. And the lesson comes in seeing how AOC's hypocrisy lies at the core of all collectivist ideology, whether it's Rousseau's 18th century French socialism or it's Karl Marx's communism. It's funny how those purveyors of state collectivism are so willing to force other people to pay while they avoid their own voluntary obligations, all while they demonize business owners and push the "you didn't build that" child's fantasy story that Obama and Elizabeth Warren actually cribbed from a Berkeley professor. Just recently, AOC did precisely this same kind of thing on an MLK Day event interview.
I'm Joe Billionaire. I made widgets. I sold those widgets. I made billions of dollars, selling those widgets, making those widgets. Therefore, those billions of dollars are mine. Why am I the enemy of healthcare?
Well, you didn't make those widgets, did you? Because you employed thousands of people and paid them less than a living wage to make those widgets for you. You didn't make those widgets. You sat on a couch, and so no one ever makes $1 billion. You take $1 billion.
Which frames it in that Marxist class envy, David versus Goliath view that for a woman who studied economics makes one wonder if she ever glanced at the most fundamental economics book in history, Adam Smith's 1776 tome, The Wealth of Nations. Yes, indeed. It's free online, Alexandria. You can get it today, and you don't have to force anybody to buy it. See, if AOC had bothered to read this book, she might have noticed that employment is an agreement. It's a transaction between two or more willing parties. And this offers us the other key lesson we can take with us from this story. See, in this book, Smith stresses a very keen insight. It's that both the employee and the business owner offer the other something that the other doesn't have. Sure, we can tell AOC that the business owner does work, that he invests his time and skills into a project, he takes on huge liabilities, invests lots of money, and does things that the early entry worker can't due to a lack of knowledge. But Smith makes another powerful point. Just like the laborer is offering sweat equity to the employer in the form of his skilled or unskilled labor, the so-called wealthy employer is offering the laborer things the laborer has not yet acquired. Things like a chance to work, a location to apply his labor to tools and resources he doesn't yet have because he hasn't amassed the capital to buy them. These include a warm building, electricity, machine tools, raw materials, even shipping, research, and PR. It's incredibly essential that this perspective on the voluntary, opportunity-based exchange nature of the free market be understood. All transactions are voluntary and for mutual benefit. That is something that, unfortunately, Marx never understood, and AOC doesn't seem to get as well. Or at least she doesn't want to acknowledge it, even as she shirks her own choices to give cash to her Democrat pals. A little lesson in economics and in ethics. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And don't forget, yes indeed, if you are in search of real news, then you can find this t-shirt over at mrc-store.com. And please visit mrc.org for lots more stories. And if you're subscribing over on YouTube, please feel free to leave a comment, because I always hop in and say hi to folks and find out what they're thinking. For MRC-TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.